Hi everyone, welcome back into the Jansen Art Studio. Welcome to our online class where we're going to be painting some gallery paintings. And it's like I get questions all the time. Well, what makes a difference? Okay, we have Painted Simply, the art of painting, and gallery paintings. Gallery paintings are ones in which I put more contemporary looks into. These are ones that sell really well throughout all kinds of the generations, from the young to the older collectors. They have a large appeal. They kind of follow the trends of what is popular in contemporary decoration. And so that's what gallery painters do. Gallery painters will put a little bit more work into it. So like our Painted Simply, we use limited palettes. We try to paint it in a pretty quick way and get a nice look. And, those can certainly go into a gallery as well. But in a gallery painting, you're going to put a lot more thought process into it, the warms and the cools, the application of colors. The artist is going to slow down a little bit. We're going to be very thoughtful about the approach of our painting. We're going to use a wider variety of colors to get a little more color influence into the entire painting, and some various techniques, maybe some palette knives, different edges, different brushes, so that we can get some different textures and different looks. Okay, and there's a lot. This is where, when you're coming into this is where the artist will kind of impart their own personal brush calligraphy or palette knife calligraphy into the painting. So we're going to go at it a little bit more thoughtful. Okay, what I have here today for our first one, this is a 14 by 18. This is a panel. You could cover this with a light linen. I paint on this also with linen. I adhere linen to it. So we have some videos on how to adhere linen to panels. I like to use linen more so with a finely detailed painting more than a canvas, because the linen has a finer weave to it and you won't be distorted. We're going to paint some smaller cosmos with some prairie sunflowers, which are not the big, huge, full sunflowers you have. Prairie sunflowers, they're all over our place out there in Nebraska. Those of you that follow me on social network, this last fall I posted thousands of pictures of these beautiful prairie sunflowers. They're about half the size of a regular sunflower, a commercially grown sunflower. And they have those out there as well in the big fields because they harvest a lot of them. But the prairie sunflowers are a little bit more wild growing, and I just absolutely love them. So we're going to do that on a 14 by 18. Now my thought process is maybe a small vase in here. I'm going to draw this design with you at the same time. Okay, this is the very first time that I'm going to be painting this design, so we get to see exactly the entire creation process, or how I go about it. So and you'll see where I might restate and work areas, and it's a good thing for you to know how to correct areas and work areas. So I'm going to take just a small bristle brush, and we're going to talk about our colors here. Now I'm going to use bristle brushes. I'm also going to use fusion brushes here. I'm going to use some fusion flats, and I have some bigger fusion flats there, a variety of them, to get some different looks. I also have some longer synthetic filberts out here, and what determines what type of brush I'm going to use is how thick of the paint is that I'm going to be moving. So I'll have some of those out as well. Color-wise, what I have out here is I'm going to expand the palette just a little bit more, especially since we're going to be doing some of our prairie sunflowers. I want to expand out my yellows. Now, I don't have out a raw sienna, which I really do like the raw sienna in the Heritage line. But we're going to be able to hit that pretty good with the colors we have here. This is a Naphtha red light. This is my Hansa yellow. This will be used in our highlight areas, our real bright parts of our sunflowers. This is the Darulite, which leans a little bit more orange, which will give me a lot of variety. The yellow oxide used in the back areas of some of the sunflowers. And of course, a main painting color in this paint is going to be our burnt sienna. So we have Naphtha red light, Hansa yellow, Darulite yellow, yellow oxide, burnt sienna. Real heavy on the yellow to the oranges. I will use these combinations here to make some oranges into the flowers as well. We have two greens out this time. Normally I would do a lot of painting with the pine green, but we use the phthalo green blue. So this is pine green, nice and warm. Phthalo green blue gives us a nice, cool, deep, darker green. Easier to make, makes wonderful. The phthalo green blue, and burnt sienna makes beautiful colors. In landscapes, I use the phthalo green blue into Paranone orange into trees. I use a lot of Paranone orange. As a matter of fact, I use so much. This is one of my favorite mixes of Paranone orange. This is Paranone orange and yellow oxide 1-to-1. This is one of my favorite colors inside of a big gallery landscape, and so I always have them out here. And I may touch into a touch of that in some of the painting. We don't. I'll wait and we'll see. But I have a nice warm green, pine green, cool green, phthalo green blue. I have a nice blue, which is my ultramarine blue. If I was going to do something that leans with a lot of blues, I might put out my 2 blues, or even their 3 blues. So you have a cerulean blue, a phthalo blue, and an ultramarine blue. Each one has a different mixing characteristic to it. I have out a real cool, so these are my real cool colors. These are my warmer colors. I have a cool color out here, which is my quinacridone violet, and a cool color, deeper, richer color, which is my red violet. So these two in combination will make, and especially with the blue, will make some beautiful, beautiful colors for us, okay? And then, of course, my titanium white. No black in this painting. We don't need it because the colors I have, the real dark, cool color you can get from phthalo green blue and red violet requires no black, because that will be black enough for us for this painting. I'm going to take a little burnt sienna here, just a little bristle brush. I like to sketch sometimes with the bristle brush, and just some water. And I'm thinking about putting this all into a vase. So what I do is I come in and I put a little mark here earlier, about halfway, which is about 7 inches on the palette. This is 18 inches by 14 inches. So you could use a canvas board or something if you want as well, or you can buy 14 by 18 boards like this, hardboard, at Dick Blick and other online places. So I come in about 7 inches to make sure that is going to be right about halfway. So this is going to be pretty much my halfway mark here into my painting here. And I like to do that because I don't like to center up, so it gives me an idea here of where the center of my board is. Now, one of the things I avoid right away is centering up my design. So I'm thinking about a little vase, and I want to give myself some working room to develop a touch of light up here. So maybe my vase will come down here, maybe a couple of inches. I'll bring it up here, just a couple. That'll allow me to put a light strike or two right into the front of it here. We'll see. We might have to adjust that just a little bit. But I don't want the vase to sit right in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push a little vase here. Now, we don't want to go over really halfway high with our vase. So if you look at the halfway of the painting here, so we'll come up right about here and right about here. I don't want to go up any higher than that part right there. So maybe right about in here. So my vase has got to sit right in that particular area here. And let's push some of it over into the halfway and drop some of it down and curve it up over here a little bit. And a lot of this vase will get covered up by some of our, then we'll just round this down back through here, get ourselves a nice ellipse. Give ourselves a nice ellipse. This ellipse here will be covered by the flowers. I don't like to always show the top ellipse. So we'll curve down and we'll curve here. That'll put our vase out over here. So then, and what I have here is set up here is my cameras that I'm working with. Of course, we're doing a 3-camera shoot here, okay, so you can get it from 3 different angles. The painting camera here is what you're looking at when you're up close here and we drawing and stuff. That camera, I have a big monitor sit here that is about 6 feet away. So I'm going to paint this to optically blend at about 6 feet. Now, optically blend means the colors soften out with the eye. You step away from the soften out. They'll look horrible up close, but you step back a little bit and they'll optically blend. So I'm setting it to optically blend about 6 feet. And then I have the camera that you're looking at right now, I'm talking with you. That one is set up about 8 feet, another 2 feet. So I can look at the painting at 2 different distances. Now you don't have that kind of stuff at home, but what you do is you get up and you get back and you look at it, okay? get back. Even if you're sitting down like I am, I like to sit in a nice roller chair where I'm nice and comfortable and stuff. And it's easy because I can just look there and I can see what that painting looks like getting further back. It's always best, if you're painting this for any kind of display, figure out how far you want that optical distance, how far that painting should be viewed from. Some artists believe that it should be, 10 to 15 feet. It all depends on the size of your room. I like it 6 to 8 feet for today's, homes. When I'm painting for a big gallery out in Sydney, I go up 10 to 15 feet, a little bit further. And so that's something to consider. But I'm going to be putting in this painting and a lot of rough brushwork and everything like that, and I'm constantly stepping back and look at it. So when you first do this, step back and look at it and make sure everything is going to be okay. All right. So first off, what I want to do is kind of draw in. I want to have some of the prairie sunflowers, and I want to have maybe one turned right down here. Now, these will be a little bit larger. Okay, so usually what I do with them is I rock and roll. I want this one to come over the edge of this one right here. And then right over here, I have a whole bunch of these different kinds of, as a matter of fact, I got a picture that's right here. And I set these all off here for all kinds of inspiration and stuff. This is some of them, the sunflowers and cosmos together, and I want to, so I got some pictures of sunflowers and cosmos. Now these cosmos are kind of pink, but I'm going to paint them up. Not quite that pink. I'm going to paint them up with the violets because there's all kinds of beautiful violet ones, violet cosmos. But I have all kinds of photos and stuff up over here. Maybe I'll come right over here like this at a slightly different, or maybe we'll push this off to the side here just a bit. Let's push it off here, off to the side. Let's come with a slightly different sunflower right off over there. Maybe one right up here towards the center, that right up in here that angles up. And we might want, since we're off center, we can bring our paintings actually here, our sunflowers, further off over this way. Maybe we'll turn one up like this. So that'll be the main sunflowers of our painting. Let's put their centers in so we have a good idea of the direction of them here. So this center will come right in here and oval slightly because we want this to turn down just a bit here. And this one will come right in here, and then this one will turn up. We want this one to turn up. Now, if we want it to really lift, it all depends on where you put that center. If you want it to really lift up, we can shorten down the front petals, elongate the back petals here, and lift those up. So we'll put that center maybe right in there. This can all change. As a matter of fact, you've got to leave yourself room to change as you are as you're doing this, okay? You've got to leave yourself the ability to change your design or change your feelings or your thought processes and stuff like that. So you've got to give yourself the ability to change. And, from here, what I'm going to do is I'll start all these little cosmos. Now, the little cosmos are going to kind of fill up all these little areas, and I'm going to kind of dribble them down and through and, around, filling up a little bit more. I want to have some space out here, okay? And I'll dribble them down, put a cosmos, maybe a cosmos. We'll kind of fill it in, maybe just color and stuff, and that will get us a good feeling for it. So now you step back and you look at your bouquet and you go, make sure that you don't form a square out here at all. You know that you don't square. You want some of these rounding shapes, something up. We might have a little mark of color up there a little higher or so. Now, a lot of times I'll go right into the background. I'm going to be painting the background of this painting at the same time as I'm doing these cosmos and the prairie sunflowers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to just put in some color spots. And color spots are just areas. I'm just going to block in the colors. Before I put the background, we're going to paint the flowers and the background back and forth. You're now painting a gallery painting. The background is just as important in this painting as the object that we're painting on the background. So we want to manipulate them together. So what I'm going to do here is I want more of my violets, and I'm going to want blue violets and these beautiful quinacridone violets. I'm going to put a little bit of white with this, so a little ultramarine blue, a little bit of this quinacridone violet, some of this pretty color right in here. I'm not going to tone it or anything yet, and we'll change it a lot of this later, but I'm going to put in what I call it my color spots of where I might have some of these cosmos flowers. I'm not going to make the flower. I'm just going to make the color spot here, and we're going to be filling in, like maybe we might see just sunflowers in here, but we're going to see the colors of the cosmos here. So maybe we'll have a cosmos and a little bit of a cosmos. And I'm just, more than anything else, I'm just looking at how this color is moving out here. Is that color going to be moving out well enough? And does it move throughout the painting enough? And it does. It could have another little spot out here or something like that. And we may just do that in the background. Got a nice full bouquet. Let's do the same thing. I'll give that brush just a real quick rinse. I'm painting pure acrylic, but I have out here also a little cap of extender if I need to extend all of this stuff. But we're working with a good plan, so we should be able to do this with acrylic. Let's take our dialide and our Hansa and some yellow oxide all together here. Nice. This will make a nice harmonious color of everything that we got to do. And let's just brush in real quick here some ideas of our yellows that we're going to use. This is just, don't get wild or perfect with it, because all of it is going to disappear. This is just to get some yellow into our painting here, and see where yellow is going to be moving through. We're going to be softening it, toning it, doing all kinds of fun little things with it. And we'll put some yellow up over here for this turned one here. And then I look to see, is that yellow moving kind of nice throughout my painting. And this is where I decide, well, maybe I want to put something back down over here, or some yellows that might show up into the background just to help move that color over there a bit. And, maybe let's just take some yellow oxide and stroke a little bit of that through some of the areas. All of this will definitely change, but I'm looking at the colors and making sure that that particular color is kind of traveling through my composition. Now the vase that I want to do here is more of a blue violet here, so I'm going to pick up some more color here, and I'm going to pick up some more blue with it, more of a purpley, and then right into a blue. But we're going to go back and forth between these three colors in here, and we'll put some other tones in. And I think this will be a real pretty vase color here. And I'm just going to real quickly scrub it in, block it in here. Try not to do long strokes or anything like that, or big, curved strokes. We're going to paint this very painterly, and so we'll work with it like this. And what I want this to kind of do is to dry up a bit, because we're gonna put many layers, many colors, many things. It's got a lot going on. Of course, you're taking this, you're painting this, so you signed up for this, so it obviously came out okay. I don't know yet. That's the fun thing, but I think it's fun for you, just like it's fun for me. We're doing this together. You get to see the entire process of how I'm creating this and what my thought process is, and I think that is just a wonderful, valuable learning experience. And because creating paintings to me is one of the most fun things that I like to do. Now, I decided my light is going to be coming in from here, because I've pushed it over to this way. I know I can put my light strokes in and grab some light, touches there. So I'm going to take some of that vase color and push this into the painting here as well, right out here like this, into some of these areas, just so I can, and I'm not painting the cosmos or anything like that yet. I'm just pushing that color around, and you can see that. Now I step back and look at that and I go, wow, yeah, okay, that's working. That it really is working. It would be nice to see, let's take a little burnt sienna right with some of this violet color, maybe a bit of extender, or you could use water just to cool it off here a bit. Let's just take a bit of that. If my light's coming in this way, this would be the shadow side. Now that's a little dark, so I'm going to add some yellow oxide to that. And let's just push in a bit of the shadowy side of these sunflowers here, which would be right about like that. Light's coming from this side here, so it's going to hit here, shadow, hit here, shadow, hit here, shadow. It'll be shadowed back down on this side over here, right in there like that. Okay, so that'll work. Carry that color through a bit, you know. Sometimes I'll take that and I'll even touch that into some of my vase, some of my other colors, even into the background. I'm a big believer of just moving the color through here. We want to see just little dabs and touches of that color. We might have some of that appear up here into our ground and into our shadows and stuff like that. So that gets that part of it in. Now, okay, so I'm going to just give that brush a quick rinse. And I just set these for right now just in a cup of water like that. That'll just keep that nice. And I'm going to grab a bigger brush. You could use a 3/4 inch brush. This is my big studio brush that I use when I do stuff really quickly. And I just love this brush. This is the 1.5 inch. It's a big Fusion 1.5 inch brush. And I use it for big washes, big time washes, color washes and stuff. I'm going to we're going to wash several colors, and then we're going to work smaller as well. I'm going to take some burnt sienna, and which I think would be real pretty into the background here. Oh, to start out with the background, I forgot to tell you about the background there. The background is a color that I use as a good neutral color all the time for a lot of paintings, and it's light gray and medium white 1:1. And I have big containers of it here like this, so the medium white and the light gray, and I just mix those together right at 1:1. It's basically a black, yellow oxide, and white, or mostly white, yellow oxide, and a little bit of black, and you'll get a color like that. It's all going to cover up and disappear. It's just a real nice neutral color. So now I'm going to take some of my burnt sienna, maybe some of these colors that I had right in here, and burnt sienna, a little bit of blue, which will cool it, and then just a little bit of white. Let's take a look at that into our background here for just a moment and streak some of that through. And that's kind of a pretty color. We'll change some of that. I'm going to change some of that, but this is to get us some of our warmth into our background here. I'm going to be doing a lot of whites, a lot of color streaking like this through the painting. Sometimes I might leave poke a little bit of that light color and leave it going through as well, that you see right there right now. So that's just a real nice light warm color. And you know, I like to start out slightly warm and then cool, because it's really easy to cool colors. It's not so easy. You have to go more opaque to get it back warm if you get it too cool to begin with. So that gives me a nice wash here over my surface here. And I'm just going to poke that brush into the water there for a little bit. You're not supposed to let them sit in water like overnight or so, but for a couple of hours for the painting like this, that'll be fine. Or you can just dab a little water or put a little extender in it, set it by your palette. It's going to be fine. Okay, the little extender keeps anything that might be left in there from drying up and curing up, so you won't have a problem with it. Now I just let that dry just a bit here. And then we can look at maybe imparting a few more things. I'm going to go back to my Fusion flat. This is my number 10 that I just love to paint with. Let's take some of our blues, some of these colors that are right over here, maybe even a little bit of our green, and I'm just going to put a touch of water into that. This is just a nice shadow color. A bit of the green, just a nice grayed shadow color here. If you see it like a lot of violet and you want to change that to really gray it, you can grab a yellow, but this will be fine for right now. And I know my cast shadow is going to be up over into this area. I want to make the light source kind of high, so I don't want this cast shadow to go out too far. You'll have a contact shadow, which will be right below here. That's a little wide, but I'll paint it out. I always like to paint big and then paint it out. So that'll set my shadow. You may have more of a form shadow that's going to come right in through here, and we can put a little bit more shadow up to there, or we might even just leave it light for there. That'll be fine, but that'll set my shadow. So now you step back and you look at it and you go, okay, now I can see some of this stuff, not all of it, but I can see some of the stuff. You have to decide if you're going to put in like a table line or a contact line here like this, draw that through. Now sometimes that gets you really need to have it level to the background here, and I mean to your board. So sometimes it's kind of nice to use something like this, like a square, if you're free-handed it like I am, and to make sure that you have a good horizontal line there. Not quite halfway on the vase, a little bit low. Put that in, and you can drop in a little extra, shadow and stuff back there like that. But that's just a real pretty. I do like to have table lines and stuff like that into the painting because that does add an extra bit of dimension. It's not necessary. There's a lot of contemporary gallery paintings that just eliminate that stuff. So it's 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. It's up to you. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lighten this all up right over here, and I'm going to warm it up into some of my lights and my warms and my yellows, and I want to get some of these light colors right back up here into the front of the painting where I know where that light hit is going to be on there. And sometimes this brush is just a bit small, but we'll work this out, let it just kind of fade out over here to the sides. You got to imagine I'm putting on this light color. I want to see where the light is going to hit. Do I let this go back out to here? I mean, you're talking contemporary looks here. I might approach this with a 3/4 inch brush. Get a bit lighter here, maybe a bit more yellow, a bit brighter here. And let's just take that light strike right where that is there and push that into that part of the painting there, like that. And see where that light is going to go. We can drop it down just a touch and take a stroke as it gets just a touch darker here, a little bit more yellow, letting it go back just a bit here, soften out that line there. And I like to work many different ways. You're thinking contemporary looks here. You're thinking we're not painting like a Dutch masters that we control and don't have textures and stuff. We want textures and everything going on there. Let's reset some of that shadow there. And I'm going to reset this 100 times, so by the time it gets done, this will hopefully look pretty good. Let's go back, and I don't always do it right away, but my lips is off here, so I don't always do it right away. I know to correct that towards the end of the painting. It's just a little bit of a oval, kind of the bottom of the ellipse there. And I don't always correct that right away, but it's something that I feel it is very important. I'm really into that's the left side brain of me, really into ellipses and the perspective of a painting, and because I think it bothers some people, and that's something that you should be aware of and that you should be correcting. You should be correcting if you need to. Let's put a bit of that light. We'll know. We're just going to work it through our background here for right now. Just a bit of that working through. Just streak it through, work it through like this, back and forth. This will break up and get some of that light color into our background here. Okay, so the light will be coming in like this. So really we're going to come in like this. We'll have a through light up here. Up here, if you were going to paint pure Dutch, would be going slightly darker, but I'm going to be painting this more for interest more than anything else. I want that light to be fine, but I want to paint this for some interest, some movement and color movements and stuff. So we won't try to be absolutely precise with it. We want to relax a little bit of that light rule, just a little, and get some streaks. So we'll have some through light here right through there like that. We'll have some streaks of color going through some other a little bit, but we'll refine that quite a bit, and we'll build the front light. That's going to be more important. But I want to just it's really kind of just my thinking is just to break up that background. I know I can express a light to dark, and that's what it would be if my front light source was coming in like this and hitting there. I'd through light and it would come right through there. What is going to do it more than anything else is my front table light right up here really has to express that nice light hit there for the painting, which is going to come right in here, right in there like that. Just stretch that out, and that's really where that light is going to be. And we know really getting up here with the nice light hit will really be right in there like that. That'll be where that light really truly is, right in there. Okay, so that's pretty good. That gives me just moves some of my colors through my backgrounds. I'm going to be doing a lot with this. This is just idea. So you step back, you look at it, and up close it looks like a darn mess, but further back it starts to optically blend a little bit, and that's not so bad. So I'll put that brush back away there for a minute. I always have a huge stack of paper towels. I'm constantly wiping and adjusting my brush, so I'm doing, I don't have to have a tremendous amount of color on it and stuff. So that's the way I like to paint. Let's come in and let's break some of these blues and violets apart here for a second and use that into the painting to make some pretty color marks on this vase. So we'll go with the more violet here, which is going to be cool. We'll push some of that in. So my original was mixing them together, and then I'm going to separate them just a bit. We'll put in some blue, which is going to be the darker and appear slightly cooler. Blue right into the violet here, and separating them out so I get some color of them independent of each other, and then also with them kind of mixed together or modeled together. What I call modeled together. When I say the word model, that means I'm working the color on the palette, but I'm not mixing it together very, very well. Let's make a darker, cooler violet. So I'm going to use my darker red violet and my ultramarine blue. This is a nice, cool shadow violet that will come right down here, which would be really where the shadow side, if my light's coming in, it's going to express right here. That would really be the cast shadow coming from this, coming from that sunflower right there. And I'm going to take that up into the sunflower a bit. Don't, when you're painting like this, you want to paint, when you're painting and you're really getting up towards the gallery looks, these beautiful flowers, you got to relax your lines. You're going to start out by relaxing your lines, painting in and out, and then slowly refine down and bring it back into more focus. So, but that's a beautiful color, nice deep color, and I might touch a bit of it into my center of interest, which will be out through here. And look what that does into my center of interest here. The color that just pops in there, and maybe just a bit of blue with that as well here, coming up into some of these, right around my center of interest flowers. Not way out here because your eye will jump out there, but a little bit of blue into some of those, and a little bit of the violet out there. Take a look. Yeah, that's working pretty good. But we'll add a stroke or two into here, maybe just some, as you get down through here, little touches of it. This will have some reflected light if we wanted to imply that from the table there. Some reflected light, maybe a bit of the blue there on the edge, so that purple right into some blue there. That might go right into some violet colors and stuff. That would be kind of pretty. Yeah, that'll work. Let's get this violet in here. Let's get a little bit of light with this. Let's work these together here. Just find a color that we want to get our vase slightly lighter. Right in here might work pretty nice. We'll put right where the light hit would be. So here's the ellipse where it's the widest. So your light hit would be above that if you're saying an upper light source. And we're going to say it's right about in here. right about in this area, and we can drag a little touch, a touch or two down, further down here. And we're going to want to warm that a bit in that area a bit more, but for right now we can just set, this is just us for the visual of it, of where that light hit is going to be on that vase here. It's going to be right in there. And let's drop down that light, curving down a bit right into here. And I'm dragging the color over my, over the surface here because it's acrylic. It's starting to dry. And that's the look that I like to get, is that drying of that through there. Let's get a bit more of that pinky color right in there. Build that light a bit. We might take that down. We might leave this a little bit darker. And don't know yet. But we'll push some of this other violets into there. I think that's a pretty color. Those are pretty colors in there. But I paint with them kind of separated here now. So now I'm separating the blue out, and I'll paint a hit of that blue, and we'll paint the hit of the violet there. So we'll get a variation. Let's darken this down. Violet and blue, darken it down a bit more, go to the other side, which is going to head into our shadow side here. Get some of that color, soften that out a bit. Let's put a touch of our blue in there because we want to keep and preserve some of that blue in there as well. There, that's kind of nice. And the thing is if you leave the color marks, that's when it gets pretty. Don't get rid of all your color marks here. I mean, leave some of this color mark. Like, see, I like that blue showing up there. So I'm going to take slightly lighter blue and push that into that. And you get these coming together there like that. Just light pressure with that fusion brush. Just let that happen. You get those beautiful color marks here. And let's switch back up over here. So here's this one. Let's go back up over here to the violet side and reset that, some of that right over there, and drag just a bit of that down. Very, very pretty part of that. Right in between, maybe a little bit of more, but slightly darker, so we can head towards the shadow a bit. And this is where I start to go with just little marks, little touches and marks here. And I took out just a touch too much of that, so let's go back in there. Don't always paint up and down, paint some sideways so we can get some different looks here. Maybe we'll take a touch of light and go very much just right here like this. Just give that, that's a nice contemporary way to approach that on that vase. So we have that light spot right there. We might hit a few just crossing, not up and down, just crossing lights like that into that vase. And let's reset that light one more time right in there. Okay, just put that up. I might drop that down just a touch, just so it's down closer to the ellipse, the lower ellipse of this vase. So I can drop that down just a bit there. And then we just take a touch of our dark and go right back down to that. Maybe a bit of blue in the brush here. Push a bit of the blue right up there by that shadow. It's cooler. And yeah, you start to get a pretty vase. It's not, it's not completely done, but it starts to look really pretty. We can put other colors in there, yellows and stuff like that. I'm going to bring up just a touch more light. Pull that through, let that just hit a few places. And this is why I love the long handle brushes like this, to work these colors. And you want to make sure you separate. So after you get some of that on, separate back out towards your blue here. That's what's going to make the vase really pretty, is that you have the mixed color and then you're working the other colors into it because it's picking up the shine. See, if this was a violet vase, which it is, but in real life it would pick up shines, and those shines would pick up some of the other colors. Now, we may want just some nice hits of like a blue right over here, just a blue. And which would really happen if you were deep into your shadows here. So we had that violet there, but right next to that violet we might want to put a bit of the blue right down like that, because that would be the next darkest color that would come from the violet. So if you're going, from that you have the warmer, that red side there, the red violets, the quinacridons that we're doing. On the other side, by the purple, would be the blue. So next to that purple would be a blue. It can also be a violet. Okay, so you could do both. You could take some of this quinacridone and just hit the edges of that blue right with that quinacridone, separating them just a bit in there. And that just gives you a beautiful look here. Pull down just a touch. I don't want to blend this. I want to do this real streaky, and I want to get this nice streaky darks. And let's get the blue and a little bit of the quinacridone violet. So the violet is just a touch different. And let's just make another mark of that right in there. That's a pretty color right there. And it's different. That's the big thing. It's different there. And so that builds that vase. So you see, it's a lot of thought process to building that vase. That vase looks pretty good going into there. Now we can take some of those colors, make sure that you take some of that nice blue that we hit up there and drop some of that into where we're going to have our cosmos and stuff. And that just makes it really pretty there. So you get that nice bit there. Now sometimes we break the edge right in here. Now see, I'm not doing this absolutely perfect. I might take a bit of my burnt sienna, bit of my blue right here, some of my other colors, and just hit that edge right in there and just break that over. And let's put just a bit of the violets in there. Streak that back and forth into the vase, especially there on the shadow side. And I like to step back like this and lean. It just works great. But especially on the shadow side there, where the broken edges there, so you can't always see. When the object goes into shadow, you can't always see all the edges and stuff like that that are going to be there. But that works pretty well there. I might put just a touch of the lighter blue right in there, just to hit, because that's on that side, just to hit that there, and reset that light one more time. I can't, when I first started painting vases, they were really a large problem for me, and then I started just breaking them down. If you notice, I'm painting with my hand way back onto my brush so that my colors, my marks and stuff stay really light. And that's the way I like to do that now. So that works pretty good. That's just a touch too much of the line. So we can just take a little violet, little blue here, dirty brush, just take some of that out. Too much of a line. There we go. Let's put just a hit of the light right here below on the ellipse by the table, right where that light would be. We'll put because if you have any kind of little rim or edge there, it would pick up the light right in that area. And we'll just put a mark there on those other sides there. Maybe let's go in with just a touch more, just a tiny touch of that light there. And that'll hit that edge. That's pretty nice. I do like that quinacridone. Maybe a bit more of that quinacridone showing up. Quinacridone, maybe a little blue right there mottled together. Right up in that area, as this is going to all fade up into there. And that's kind of pretty color. That little touch of quinacridone. Separate out your two main colors and paint those in here. And that just works so well. You can soften those in, but you pick up the quinacridone and the blue, and then your main painting part of the painting is those colors put together. And you just get a real pretty vase there, like that. Okay, so we have that. Let's go work on one of the other parts of that's really kind of the interesting part of the sunflower, and it's the next part that I'd like to kind of attack because it's a nice dark part, is that center. And we want to get that center, we want to get a lot of real interest into that center. So I want to take some of the purples that I just worked with here, and I want to put some of that right away into the center. So down here we'll have some shadow of that center. Put just a small line of it up onto the other side. Light's coming up through here, so it'll be lit up right up here. So we'll put a bit of that into the shadow there and around. And here on this side would be the shadow side down here. Just a few touches around the other side there. Maybe a bit back into there. Then we're going to go a little bit more blue, because that's just a little on the violet side of that quinacridone violet. So we'll add some more blue to that to cool that down. So that's carrying some of that. It's also a good thing to do because, you know, as an artist, you're always looking for a way that you get those cooler colors into your flowers. And that's carrying this color right into your flowers here at the same time here. Right like that. There we go. Okay, so that works into there. And yeah, then what we want to do is come out of that. I want to just lightly brush through. I like the burnt sienna. Now, it's an earth color, which can cause it to get opaque real quick. So I'm going to put some Darulite yellow with that. And you can see how it yellows it up. And it'll also make it, because the Darulite yellow is a semi-transparent, it'll also make it a little bit more transparent. And I just want to brush some of that through those centers here. You know, it's a building process. Right into there, put some of that color in like that, and we'll let some of those the yellows and those purples. Now we break some of that color apart. We're going to break some of that color apart. We're going to stroke it with a bit of burnt sienna, just in a couple of little areas here like that, just a little bit here. And let's take some of that Darulite yellow over here. Break that apart. Maybe not pure Darulite yellow, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna in it, so it's not quite so light. We'll come back onto the light part of it here and touch some of that through here. Right in there like that. Maybe take a bit of our violet or something into our brush, some of that quinacridone or a little bit of blue. Maybe slightly more towards that quinacridone there. And just touch the edges of it or run it through just a bit there. And what that does is now all of a sudden the center is getting a tremendous amount of colors into that center. And that's what we want. We want these colors start to show up. We can even put a, you know, I mean, you're a contemporary painter, so you can even use the corner of the brush, which is what I like to do, and touch just a hit of that blue. So the viewer picks up just a hit of that blue in there, just one or two little hits around, and that's what's going to make it really pretty, is those hits. Now, this is going to lighten up quite a bit. Let's put just a touch more of that blue, maybe a little quinacridone in it. Reset some of that just a bit. I usually end up painting these like 4 or 5 times, back and forth. You know, finding the right color tone and hitting that again. I like to do that several times because that's where your color depth is going to come from here. There we go, just like that. That sets that up. Okay, so now before I get going too much further here, let's set in some of the light, a little bit of the light, just so we can see it a little easier. So let's go up here to our Hansa. I'll just come right down in here. This is drying up. Maybe Hansa and a little bit of white. We're going to paint the petals on these several times. And so right now what I want to do is just push in some light back and forth like this to just establish the light of the flower here, where that light is. And you can see the light in conjunction here with the with that dark center now. Here, in and out. We're gonna back paint some of these and paint some of this out. So there, Hansa yellow and white, you can really see where that Hansa yellow really starts to shine. It really comes out here. Let's get some of that right into here, onto this one here, into that one there, just like that. And while that's wet, or you can even let it dry. Let's take a little burnt sienna, some of our blues and violets, and just break up the edge. Just push and break up the edge there, so that so you don't get a line between the petals and the center here. We don't want a line between the petals and the center. We want to just take some of that color out. Just break up those edges there. Even take a little bit of your violets and blues here. Just break up those edges there. Way back on your handle of your brush. Way back. Let that tip stay very soft. There. Just break up that edge. And maybe I'll reset this one. Here, again, back up into that. You go back and forth, and you can see that starting to take shape there. Okay, so, and we've got a real good light yellow and violet part of the painting, a nice complementary, part of the painting going on here. Let's. I'm going to darken this down. Put a little Darulite, put a little bit of yellow oxide. We maybe have a little bit of light in here. Just going to darken and tone this down. That might be a little two-tone, a little more. Get the Hansa into that. Okay, and we'll use that right back here. I think we'll use that. We'll put in that, like this is going to be the center. That might be just. I'm going to take some of the paint out of my brush here, and just whisper this back and forth. So we create this back turned one here like that, a turned one back there, and of course, and when we kind of finish this up, I want to put some petals up like this, so we'll turn that back that way. That'll work. And let's put a bit of burnt sienna out there for the top, and a bit of our violets and blues in there as well. Here, push back and forth between that yellow and that light and that center color there, so we get some of that colors going on. That's what we like, is the colors. We'll push the shadow side out here. That's the other thing we got to do now, is we'll take some burnt sienna. We'll take it right over here. Let's cool it with just a touch of our quinacridone, maybe even a touch of our blue. Let's dirty it down, and let's put on the shadow side here of our, and we can dirty that with a bit of yellow oxide, no lighter than that. This will be the shadow side here of our sunflowers here. So in and out just a bit. I love just to push in and out with this brush. Push in and out. Push in and out. A little more yellow oxide into that. This big one here. Push in and out. There we go. So that starts them in. They're going to have a lot more to go, but you can start to get a feeling of the light and dark of those flowers, of those guys in there. So let's come out and let's start some of our cosmos here. Now I wanted them a light violet kind of color, so some blue and some quinacridone color here. We'll let this vary. That sometimes a little more blue, sometimes a little more violet as we paint them here. We want to put on, don't paint the whole flower. We want to paint just the idea of that, because we want these cosmos to be just very lost here. Very lost. Let's put a little more blue in it so that color changes, so they're not all exactly the same. And see, that makes it pretty. We can put see the difference between those two. That's what makes your bouquet pretty, and that's what really kind of like takes you as an artist up a level, because you're working the various components of the color here quite a bit different. And let's go back slightly more violet over here, just a touch more light. Put a mark or two of that in there. That's pretty. Those will be, that will just be the color. We just need the color in there. Maybe a touch more blue, slightly cooler. Out to here. Put one out there like that, so we get those guys going in there. Again, long ways to go, but step back and take a look at it, and your painting's starting to really come forward and really starting to take some shape here. Now, one of the things I want to do is before I go back in and repaint everything, is I want to go in and loosen it up even a little bit more. And I know, some of you may really like it and stuff, but there's areas that I want to loosen up a bit more. And so our background is glazed with some of the burnt sienna and stuff. I'm going to cool that with a little bit of the blue and maybe a bit of my violets and stuff into here. It's a mix here. Darken that down just a bit, and we're going to take that in and out like this. This is going to create some of the contemporary light to dark movement that I want to create into the painting. It's going to take some of the colors out here. Now we'll soften that out in just a minute, but this is the contemporary look that is so popular in the paintings. That a lot of your big selling artists and stuff do today. Here, take some of that out and through, so it loosens up some of your color, some of your composition. Take some of those colors out. Let's come over here by our yellows, our light colors here, and maybe cool that with just a bit of blue. That's a pretty color right there. With just that bit of blue into that, cools that down here. And then we'll push that back and forth like that to soften some of that. Sometimes I do this with a palette knife as well, to get some softness in it. But I want to get these colors modeled and moving in here. And, so we'll go back and forth, up and down, create some of that, just little areas of heavier color into the background. So the background gets just a touch more interest, a little bit cooler here. Especially like right out into here. And I'll take that into the flowers. Just a bit into the flowers. Here. There, like that. So we'll see some of that background model. Now, we can use our larger brush to make some strikes that are a little bit bigger. Or just a small, slightly bigger, which will give them more power into the painting here. Right in there like that. This is the modeled background that just looks wonderful into a painting. Now, I wiped out, and that's okay. I wiped out some of that flower over there, those cosmos. I just go back and put them back in. Not exactly the same color again. And that is where the beauty comes in. It'll hit some of these other colors, and it doesn't have to be the same color. You don't want to make the same color. And that's the difference between all the different art forms, between decorative painting and painting like this, is that I was a decorative artist for so long, and we'd put out a mix, and we paint all those flowers all exactly the same, and I just don't do that anymore. I look for variations. So I might take a touch of this, maybe darker, maybe a bit of blue into some of this right in here. Carry that right down here like this, right into that flower right there, onto that shadow side, right into there, some of that mark of that color right in there, which is great because it's carrying a touch of this blue into the background, which is, and it's carrying the flowers and the vase colors right there into that background there, and which is a good look on this painting here. But I'll push that right into that, right like that. It takes out just a bit of that cosmos, and then I'll go put that cosmos back in, slightly different color, maybe just a bit of blue into that, slightly different here. Let's work this cosmos in again. They're multi-petaled little guys here. We'll put, I'll do more distinct petals in a bit. Right now I want to keep everything just loose and colors moving, but loose here. There, like that. Just loose expressions of that. And I'm thinking slightly darker, and I look to see if I have a color that's just kind of heavy, like there's just too much of it, and that's where, like here, it's just a touch too much heaviness right there. So I'll take a little bit of my violet color right here, just drop it onto that one there, and you can see how that changes that. So it's not all the same color. Right in there's all the same color, and so I'll put a heavier touch of the blue, maybe right down here, change that expression of that part of the cosmos there. Let's change up this one right in here, break that up a bit. There. Now we got to get leaves and at least the suggestions of leaves going in there. So we might as well, before we get going too farther here, start to put some of that. Let's start out a little bit warmer, some pine green, maybe a bit of like yellow oxide or so in there. Let's take a pine green strike and see what that looks like in there. It's not too bad. It can be a bit lighter, maybe a bit of Hansa with that here. Let's just put in, so light through light's coming through, light's going to come in through here. Let's put in a light strike of green right in there. Light will hit right up in through here, so maybe we'll have a light onto a leaf that'll come right down here like that. So we'll see that. That's just the idea. This can all change. We'll have a few, let's put some more light onto that. Okay, and then we'll go more pine green, maybe out through here, some leaves. I'm not going to paint just total leaf shapes and stuff. I'm just moving color more than anything else. And then we might cool that down, especially down in here into the center. Here, back up over here towards this side here. We might cool that down. And if that's too much, just take a little yellow or something and run through it here. And some of these outside areas here, though, we might just need to poke a little bit of a mottley kind of green in there. Okay. Don't make leaves, just push the color. We're doing a very casual painting here, so just push the color. Don't make perfect, perfect leaves. We'll add a bit of white to that cooler color, maybe right with some of that beautiful pine green here. We'll push some right into the back. Maybe there's a few color marks of that out here. Some of this can change. We're going to be painting the background into some of that, so got this nice carrying of color there. Sometimes I'll put a mark or two of some of those colors, out into a few other areas, pushing them out. Just carry the color, carry the idea of some of that color through. That's the casual nature of it. Okay, so let's rinse that color out of that brush here. Yeah, and that works pretty good. I'm going to reset some of my darks into my centers here. Get some of this nice blue-violet color. A bit darker onto my shadow side. And put a little quinacridone right next to that. Right in there. That's pretty. So it's like I do these several times. Let's take a bit of burnt sienna and yellow, maybe a bit of quinacridone into that so it's slightly different. Put a stroke or two of that right next to that. Try to make each center, a bit different so it's not carrying the same look to it. So Now, the cosmos, the little button centers, you can put some color into there if you want to start to establish a little button center into the cosmos here as well. And we'll be very casual with that, just a few of them around. And because out into here is just going to be all kinds of other things going on. Really you'll see if I do everything like my plan is, like in here, I'll get a lot of the interest into the details, into those center petals, then everything else will kind of move out, collapse out. So, I need to, I'm really looking at my nice sunflowers there and seeing that yellow can move a little bit further out into a few other areas here into the painting, and that it just makes that color back there, gives you just the idea of, maybe that's a back turned, or you're seeing just a bit at edge of one there, and but you see that color into the painting. That's what you want to do. Let's keep going. Let's go back here, take some of our Hansas, some of our Darulite here. Let's really set up our petals. Now these petals, I want to go in and out here like that. Okay, really rough here. And some of the shaping of the petals I'll do in just the actual putting the little points on and stuff I'll do towards the end of this here, so you don't worry about that. That's detail that's coming. I'm looking for movement in and out of the centers. So I want to reset some of my movement here, in and out here, and we want to darken that down a touch here, in and out of that center there, like that. Yeah, that's good. I like just the textures of some of those strokes. I like just to get those textures on there and build that texture. We're going to build that texture. And if you need to take some out, just take some of your darks, your burnt siennas, a little violet or so, and push in and out of that, and it'll take some of that out. We like that. Sometimes I like to use my finger, but that softens out a bit, so you got to be careful not to do it too much. You don't want to get them too soft here. Let's take some of this Hansa yellow and Darulite yellow, mix those up here, and get those in here, up onto this side. Now, one of the things I like to do when I paint daisies and multi-petal flowers is do a lot of the painting negatively. What I mean is with the background. So I'm going to do some of that here on these guys as well. Paint that in and out with some of my background color to shape some of these sunflowers here. So I'm just working the movement in and out. That's what I'm looking for, is the movement. More than anything else, is the soft movement of that color here. In and out, so you get the feeling of in and out of that on those sunflowers there. And we'll take some burnt sienna, in and out. That has a bit of the violet in it, and that's showing up, and I like that. Get that in. These are going to be your center of interest flowers, so we're going to paint them several times here. Several times to get that look that we want to get into the painting. Okay, so that's pretty good. This back one back here, poor little guy up there, needs just a little bit of help. Up there. There we go, just a color. You see that color touches out there. You see that color looks pretty good. Push this out. that. Back and forth. Little light pressure, draw right into that. Pick up some more color, light pressure, draw right into that. It's just dragging that color over the yellow right over some of those darker burnt siennas and quinacridones, and giving you some nice movement without, getting rid of all of it there. Lighten up, just paint the movement in and out. That's what we want, is that movement. There. Like that. Yeah, and so let's go in and take some of our color, some burnt siennas and blues, maybe a bit of our green for our leaf here. And this is where I come in and I'll do a little negative painting here to set up the maybe the edge or the shape of one of the petals there that we'll start to look for to get some of those petals pointed up stuff. And of course we'll go back and forth. We're going to do this a couple of times as well. So I may set this up here, set up some of the petals of the sunflower. So I'm negatively painting. I'm actually painting the background in between the petals here. That so you actually don't paint all the petals all the time with just the light yellow. You'll paint them with the dark color, actually setting some of them as well. So we'll come right back in here, set up this one, point up that one a bit, point it up just a bit there, set that one, and just drag. This is just blue and burnt sienna. You could use a little greens because we'll set all the colors again, but we'll drag that right into our backgrounds. Some of that around like that. Here. Sometimes just let that side kind of collapse a bit more there. And that looks pretty good here. So we got the light and the light there. That's nice. And go back and forth. Go back to some of your light yellows. Pull out a bit. Let that just kind of diminish down there. Off of that one there. I like getting some of those textured edges, and you can start to point up some there. Which will get the sunflowers go to more of a pointed little petal, but we want to work this several times. We're going to come back here also with a smaller brush and work some of the details here. You're going to work these back and forth several times, so I might step the size of this one down. And that's what other thing I start to look at. Some of them reaching maybe a bit far, so I'll take it out. Now, I'll go right into my cosmos there. I'll put part of it back in. You've got to be willing to eliminate some of it. It's just going to happen. And that's what's going to keep it interesting, is being able to eliminate some of the edges and work around, and you just go back and put some of that cosmos in. It's really easy to do here, but don't use exactly the same color. Just go put a bit of that back in and touch a few of those colors around here. They're really easy to do. There, like that, because those cosmos will, give just as much beauty and interest to the painting as these beautiful sunflowers do. Now you can go down. Matter of fact, I'm going to go down. I'm going to go over and grab one of my filberts. This is a synthetic filbert. And I'm going to grab some light color, some white, and some of my lighter yellow here. And I'm going to work out onto the tip of this and just draw in a little bit of the edge of that there. Now I really want to do this a couple. I just took off some of the extra texture, and I want to do this back and forth like this several times to create the textured edges to the sunflowers here. Very different. Hold the brush in different ways. You know, I'm constantly moving it around differently, change the yellow up here a bit. Drag that in and out on this one maybe here, so that edge is a bit different feel to the edge of that one here, but it could be a little more light onto it. Nice textured stroke. Sometimes you know, this is where I would use a palette knife sometimes on this. Sometimes I come in and I build this texture several times here to get those petals to look the way I want them to. Here. Get that in like that a bit. There. Lots of back and forth. All kinds of yellows. All kinds, and sometimes right as they're coming into that center, which I've kind of lost there a bit, we'll put that back, is I'll start to just smooth it out just a touch. So not all of it is always just super texture. You can get a lot of beautiful looks by letting it go in and out of texture. In other words, you have texture, and then right back in here, we'll let that texture kind of soften out right as it's going to build right to our center there. That one now, we'll go back out here and put some of that back in there. But you can't, you know, it's like somebody that painted daisies and stuff with me before, you know, and I'll go back and forth 7, 8, 9, 10 times. This is the same way. This is what's going to give you the beauty to one of these sunflowers, is getting some of that back and forth coloring there. And let's go out here and just get some really light Hansa yellow. Nice, beautiful, light sunshine color for this tip of that boy, does that really jump off here. Nice light tip here. Nice light tip there, like that. And break that edge, sometimes break that edge a bit, so it's not always perfect. Here. And you know, you could put an edge like on that. Many times I'll put an edge like that and negative paint back out to that. Like drop that edge on there, take some darker color, and negative paint back out to soften that edge. There. Just move that. And I want to keep them softer and more movement here. And so it's just finding the look. I'm going to set that brush down for a second, go back to my bigger one for just a moment. Go back into some of my, let's go into a cooler burnt sienna and some of my phthalo green blue, and push that back in there just a touch. Let those colors kind of come together there. This side right here is a bit light for its position, so I'll just take some of that and push that into that side of the sunflower, and see how that color just works in there too. So it's another color. We can put a bit of that in. Some of that, it's movement back and forth. That's what we're going for, some movement back and forth here. And get these little thinner little edges, tips of these petals, little light. Let's get some thinner, lighter edges, tips. Our idea of those. There. That's getting a little detailed for where I am in the painting right now, but they are kind of fun to paint sometimes and get some of that look in there. It is kind of fun. There, to get some of that. Let's go back in and work. Now, you know, I can make a brighter orange, just a touch of our naphtha red light and some of that Dahlia light or the others, and that's a pretty color to get in there as well. Touch that in there on that warm, lighter side. Let's go back and restate some of those purpley colors right down in here onto the low side. Work that color in and out. There. Get some of that Dahlia light, burnt sienna. It's another nice intermediate tone to have in there. That's good. This brush might be a touch big for what I want to do in there, so I might grab my 6 here, my number 6 fusion flat, and work a bit smaller. So I went from the 10 down to the 6. Touch a little burnt sienna around, kind of increases that shadowing there, and we can head up to some of that light just as a little spray of light right up in there. But the centers on them are mostly dark, so you know we want to keep that feeling. Let's increase the darkness there into this side here. A little more quinacridone. A bit more dark. Just tap that around with the corner of your brush, and that just builds that. They're kind of pretty. And let's use this for some of our lights. Let's get some of our light out here. Some Hansa, a little Dahlia light, some white. Let's get some of this light out here. Get those light tips there. There, like that. There, a bit of that light coming down in there. Bit of that light there. Coming down in. Now it's a little samey, so I'll take some of my Dahlia light and push up through some of that, so they change. Here and there. So you want the light to diminish going around the outside edge here. So let's even get a little orange, burnt sienna kind of colors into there. There, I don't always want to make these perfect. You know, we want some other kind of petals to go around, and that's my natural habit, is to make them perfect. So, you know, it usually takes me a couple of times to to get the look, the casualness of it here to it that I want to have. And that's a little better there. Got them. So we want this one. We wanted this one down just a bit. So the longer petals here, and I think what I'm going to do is kind of change the position of that one just a bit because they're colliding here. And it's an easy thing to do as you change it, as you look at it. I'm constantly evaluating something here. I'm going to change this one down here this way, open up between those two, just a touch more. A little bit of my greens here. And just paint it in between there like that. You can see, boy, you know, when you paint back and forth in and out of the flower, it really loosens it up here too. It does. It just makes it pretty here. And I want to turn this flower, so I want to go shorter there on the front and then a little bit longer on the sides. That will turn the flower. So let's turn this a bit longer here onto the sides here like that. Here out like that. There we go. And then we'll shorten up and we'll oval up the center a bit more here. So we'll oval up this center just a touch more. And that'll start to turn this flower. There. Turning it down a bit more. Got it just a bit out of place. This is what I really enjoy doing, is the refining and the finding. I don't get frustrated. I used to get frustrated, but the thing is, I know how to paint. So, you know, and I always tell myself that. I don't let myself get frustrated. I know how to paint. I can paint it. If there's something wrong with it, then I sit there and I'll step back and look at it. Sometimes I'll go get a cup of coffee and look at it and say, okay, this is what I need to do. And right now what it is I'm getting too precise, too perfect, which is an easy thing to happen. And I want to get more loose with my painting here. So I'm going to loosen these up a bit. Here, let's get a bit more loose here with how I paint these. Here, just like that. Little touches of those colors there, like that. That turns that flower down a touch more. I like that a lot better. And sometimes pull out here. That'll give a different look. Sometimes pull out there like that. And let's do that. Let's do that. Let's reset this one up here as well. A little shorter and a little shorter into the front, longer there into the back, but let's set that one back here. First, let's take a bit of our green and burnt sienna, some of these colors, and set back just a bit so these don't get too big and too overpowering in the painting. Set those colors and see how that just changes everything here. Let's take a couple strikes of our quinacridone because there's going to be a cosmos there. Push that in. Maybe one right in there. Push that in. That's going to be good. Here, let's take some of our burnt siennas, maybe a bit of violet into that. Push in and out of that again. So you just reset it slightly. And I just love resetting and working it back and forth. That is what keeps the nature of it more casual. Pull those in. Here, a little longer right there. A little longer onto the sides here. A little bit there. And really short up here into the front. This will cause it to come out a bit like that. Just a little short into the front. Short little strokes off to the sides here like that. There. That's kind of pretty. So that's that. And so, you know, that's the thing I want you to remember. You can get frustrated with your shapes, and if it comes like with me, normally what happens with me is I start to paint them like really round, and that's, you know, I find myself, I have to reset myself sometimes when I start to do that. And, you know, I've painted these things quite a bit, but each time you want to set them differently, it's, you know, it's a little different way each time. Let's paint back and forth into some of that. Those colors. There we go. I even like this kind of separation of the petals. Boy, that's just like the ones out in Nebraska. Here. Get this color pulled out. Here. There, turning that way. We'll let that light hit right up here. Let's get a little more light onto some of these front sides here. There, out there like that. That's kind of nice. That light hits right there. And maybe a little bit of a perfect one there, and then we'll let some of that fade away. Let some of it fade away out there. That's going to make it pretty. Touch some of those colors in there. Get some of that burnt sienna. Tap that around a bit. There. Those are pretty. Get some of that burnt sienna on the corner of our brush here. Tap a bit of that around. Break up these centers. There. That's pretty as well. Maybe a bit of the orange or so. There. A little yellow and orange. That's working better. Started to get my brush just too precise. And I like that looser feeling of it. And when you're painting loose like that, boy, every day you paint is going to be a little different. It really is. And you've got to learn to accept that as an artist. And some days you can paint them really easy, and other days, you know, you might have other little worries on your mind or something, and that'll affect everything that you try to do as an artist. So it doesn't always come nice, you know. So, you know, I want to really lighten yellow up here. Up in there. Get that little edge there. That's kind of nice, but a little perfect. So I'll take a bit of my siennas and stuff out into that. Take that off, and let's come back out. This one got that same type of thing to it, so I'm going to take a little green and burnt sienna, that cooler green, maybe a touch of blue since we're on the cooler side over there. You could also have a touch of violet in there, any of your cool colors. Let's just reset this one a bit. And we're going to do shorter. Let's do a bit shorter up in the front, a little longer on the sides here. And those sizes of this, setting them down like that, that works a lot better into the painting here as well. Let's set some slightly longer burnt sienna ones right out here like that. Burnt sienna and some dark light yellow. And let's leave those real casual like that. Over to the other side here, this is where we have our light. So we'll pick up some of our... Now I'm going to add a little bit of yellow oxide to this, and not quite as much white because I'm getting down away from my light source right here. So I want to keep this shorter here, out like that, shorter, and let's just drag just a bit here. Hold your brush differently. See, I hold my brush differently and drag it slightly like that, and it creates that a little different petal edge, you know, and it's I like that. But I want this one not quite as light, and just a few more things, not quite as light, maybe a few more little things right onto this side, because that's the light side. And yeah, that's kind of pretty. And yeah, we can put smaller, use our brush and put smaller lights and stuff on it as well, but we'll do that. We'll look at that, at doing that in just a bit. Come out here, here, like that little, that's a little more light right in there. Let's get a bit more, just a bit more light. Push using different parts of your brush. Don't always stroke in, push out, and that gives you a different look in and out of your sunflower, your prairie sunflower. There. But it's really nice to get some, as you do this, you know, as I do this multiple times, I start to really get some textures, and that's really what I like into the flower, some of the textures. You know, like I would really build up. If I had unlimited time, I would build up a lot onto these flowers here. I mean, a lot. Building them up with the textures right into the front here, because that's the main part of this. And you just pick up a big dollop of texture, model that up so it's not particularly one color, and put a big old stroke of that, you know, and build that look right there, because that's what really pops them off. But don't stroke exactly the same as you did earlier, a little different, and so that those textures look more like ridges of light, ridges of highlight onto it, as opposed to doing the whole petal again. Does that make sense? And I look at that and I go, wow, I got to get these cosmos a little bit lighter so this comes together, but that's getting there. So see, even with me, and you don't worry about it, even with me, I started to grow from my original concept. My sunflower started to grow. So remember that. That could happen to you too. Hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, just take a little color, back paint around. And that makes the prettiest flowers anyway. You know, back painting around and doing it again makes the prettiest flowers anyway. Let's get some of this real light, textury strokes right here. Right out on there like that on that side here. Let's get a bit of that right in here. Now this has got to be a touch darker, so not quite as much, but we'll put a wee bit of that in there. Let's darken this down some yellow oxide and stuff, and put some of that color in and out there of this back one. We'll pick up a little more texture. Get some ideas of some front turned type petals here. Just crossing back and forth like that. Okay, so they get some, so it's really turned into the back here. You know, like that. That really turns that flower. And maybe take a soft bit of that sienna and push that around in there. That really turns that flower. You can take some of this light and just give some ideas. Maybe there's one right over there. Just move the color, almost like the petal strokes of it, you know. Just move the color around. so they pick up that idea. Now, those violets, look, now that I put all that light onto those sunflowers there, those violets are looking really quite dark. quite dark. Let me put just a touch of burnt sienna and some darulite right on in there, I think. Let's drop a little more burnt sienna into that. And go back to your violet and blue. Here, that nice purple, deep, dark purpley color. Little touch of that here and there. That just adds so much to these flowers. Just little touches of that, just with the corner of the bigger brush. And that's one thing I like to use is the corner of a bigger brush times to create those. They get a bit more. Then you just make sure all your sunflowers look a touch different. That's kind of pretty there. Okay, so let's go in and let's do the cosmos. Now the cosmos, when you see those, they're a petal as well. I don't want to, I want to do them like petals, but maybe not quite so much. And I want to vary between my, I'm going to get a lot of this color out here, my blues and my, so I want a little bit more violet, which means a touch more of the ultramarine blue. And I want to take some to almost a white also, because that will help counterbalance the yellows in the painting. As I'm mixing this and looking at this color, the yellows in the painting are real heavy because they're big. So you can neutralize some of that by adding some white out into the painting as well. Let's come in and let's just start to set. We'll look at some of this, because see the cosmos, even with the cosmos, it's hard for you to see that, but there's some light and darks out there into the cosmos as well. Some whites colors in some of those. Let's just do quick, like little strokes. Some of the light that we might have, some of the same light feeling here, in and out, like we do with the sunflowers. But as I get this light in here, in and out a bit, as I get that light in there, you'll see that sunflowers will calm down just a bit. So let's put a bit of blue into that and just model that around here. And they kind of, you know, pretty cosmos. They can curve, they can do all kinds of stuff with their petals, but I'm just going to paint the color more than anything else, and the movement more than anything else. I'll take a little light and we'll lift out like that to just touch and lift out. We'll give that real quick. This isn't, you know, this painting isn't always about all the cosmos. This cosmos are here to help us with the painting. They're there to carry color and add some interest, but you know, I want them to be not quite as much as the big sunflowers here, so, or the prairie sunflowers here. So I've got a, and the other thing is I want to take in and out a bit with this as well. So I'm going to take some blue and some, in other words, paint in and out of those cosmos as well. That just, you know, just like we took the darks to the sunflowers, painting in and out of the cosmos like this, and taking some of these neutralized colors here. I'm going to put just a touch of extender in there to loosen it up, and it'll keep it wet for a second as I play with it. But painting in and out of these will help loosen up those colors a bit right in there. And step back and take a look, and I like that, and reduce the power of that sideways stroke there, that horizontal there. But like I say, I can't say it enough. You paint in and out, and you set it, and you're like, okay, that's pretty good. Then reset the whole flower again, and just reset it again and get a different type of look to it. And got that, and I'm again my thing today. Today is a growing day. I keep making these things a little bigger than what I want them to be in the painting, so I'll paint back out some of those edges there. Just paint them out. Let's grab this a bit lighter. Let's get some of the light that I want to have here. Let's get even lighter here. Keep my strokes a bit smaller here. Just little touches of that light. Try not to, I mean, very how you paint them here. Very loose, very casual, very impressionistic. Maybe you only see a couple of petals, you know. Maybe you only see just a few petals on them. And here just a bit. There. It's kind of pretty. Maybe a touch lighter and even a little bit of blue into it. Touch lighter yet. There. Just drag those edges. So I got a little turned one there. Yeah. Let's come back over here. So you get some blue, some lighter blue ones here, which are pretty. Pretty nice turned ones. Change that back. And again, you can paint in and out of some of these edges here. They're a little stroke flower, but you don't have to stroke every petal. Here you can, because we're doing impressionistic here. We're doing what is called representational art. You're not, you know, we're not painting absolutely perfect stuff. Let's take a little blue, a little yellow here, some soft. These are all just background colors that work in here. And let's just paint into and soften out some of that. Some of that color in there. It's kind of pretty. Yeah, pretty little cosmos there. Maybe I'll put a little more blue on that side here. A little more of a blue coloring. Just loosen up your strokes. Don't stroke quite so much. Even though these are like little stroke petals, don't stroke them quite so much. There, get a different look. Let's take some of that out. Soften some of that back out. And let's take some darker bits of that color right back in here, like maybe there's another one right in there. And just a stroke or two of the lighter color in there to say maybe that's one that's turned right there. So you don't, put a little touch. I'll be looking for colors too, to just other little touches of color, little quinacridone, before I put that button center in or something, or maybe pull it down one side there a bit, and all kinds of ways to paint these. Really pretty. We want to paint them kind of, some of them pulling down, kind of loose ideas of them. And some, though, I really want to get lighter. Really get lighter so that I got to take some of that size down, but lighter so that they take away from the sunflowers just a bit. Put some of that in that. Just get wild with some of this little marks. There, and you see it's really pulling the colors of the vase up into it as well here. There. There we go. A little, maybe a bit lighter. Get that a nice light side right there. Right in there. That's nice. Put a few touches of some of those down in here. Colors. Little idea of those right in there. Maybe there's one right between and behind these two sunflowers in there. Color more than anything else. This the nice movement of the color. I've got to get a little touch more blue into some of these, but it's working. Here. There. Bit of the light, just to say that's the light edge there. And I'll have to take some of that down. Real dark. Not real dark, but darker over here on the other side. You don't need too much there to say. Let's even get a little bit of our violet in our blue. Let's get some of those darker colors, tones over there. Some of that back over here. Reset some of our darks there. Bit of that right in there. It's pretty. And that's good. I like to reset them and do them again, and that's where I think I get a lot of nice interest. Yeah, like that. Like colors. Let's set some of these nice blue violets. Let's get a bit more light, because this is coming up to the light side. Just give the impression of a shape, like a couple of crossing petals or something out here. You don't know exactly what it is, and we don't need to. We just need to see the color and the in and out shape, and then the viewer will say, yeah, okay, those are nice little cosmos here. Don't need anything too much more than that. We can set this one, though, maybe a bit lighter. That's going to be behind this one. Touch of that, and not really too sure about that position of that one because it's angled like that. So I got two angled flowers there, exactly the same. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to go back to my burnt sienna and some of that green. We're going to take some of that out. We don't need to take all that color out because some of that's good color in there. Leave that movement in there. And rinse that out of the brush. And let's go back in and set something in here that's a little different. That will play right in here. It wants to play at that angle right there. That'll be better right in there. Let's put a little dribble of burnt sienna into that center for right now. Some of those. A little bit of burnt sienna to that. Let's go back to our lights, our light colors. Put this in maybe a bit more of an angle here. There, like that. And heavier, lighter pink here. Picked up some of that wet yellow from that thing there, and that looked really neat. But it's gotten just a touch big, so I'll take it down just a little bit. Just with some dark, just push into the edges, and sometimes I just leave those edges just underpainted like that. Set that dark in there like that, and that makes a nice little flower unit in there. Now they have a little button center, some yellows here. Tap that with the corner of your brush. And some of those I might take down in size again. You can do that really easy anytime, just some of your background. Just putting some of that in, and I'm going to paint it into position with some of my dark. So I know some of you are probably going, wow, those are really spotty there. Yeah. Then I'll take a touch of burnt sienna, maybe a little yellow oxide in it, soften it down, and then tap along the edges of that until I start to see the center come down to what I want it to be. Just tap along the edge of that. It just softens them out. Here. There, like that. And we'll take some more. There, like that. Just soften. I like that one in the center being just a touch. Has just a touch more going on. This outside one here can have a little bit more right up there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's pretty good so far. And let's take down. Use some warmer greens. You could put some yellows in here too. You can lighten it up, these greens up a touch as they go up there towards the top. You know, in some of your lights, we can vary some of our greens here if we want to take out and small down some of our flowers here. And you can also use your large brush with the lighter colors here. And rinse that out a bit. Some of our, a little bit of our blue, a little bit of yellow, some of those nice lights. It's going to dry down, but it might be a bit light. Some of that nice soft green into that here. You can have that go into your background here as well. It just makes pretty colors drawing that around. This is where I start to take some of this out into my backgrounds and loosen that up, and loosen up some of the, get some beautiful colors moving into your backgrounds as well. And some of these greens would be beautiful into here. You know, touch those out and in and push in and out of your flowers. It'll cause them to lighten up and not be quite so heavy here. Work in and out of them. Get it out of their edges. Stuff, so we'll work this a bit more. Bit of yellow, blue. Love that color. Take that in and out of those. Grab some greens and burnt siennas and pull those across. This is a good broken color that is pretty to put in, and it's wonderful to put in some of your paintings. And you can get your brush a little smaller, break down the color, touch more. Here. And I love these colors coming out like this. Here's that beautiful greens. You know, push some of that out. Add some yellow to that. A bit of burnt sienna here. Beautiful little warmer color right out there. Work it through some of your composition. They see those colors go out, and of course you can, you know, touch some of these out further to especially get out light here, some of this lighter green out here like this, and give the idea of outside leaves, you know, in the composition. And those will also move out and lighten up your composition here. We can cool that slightly with a little bit of blue and, you know, touch underneath some and put in some blue and some green here and some burnt sienna, and put in like the stem to that one right there, and you know, some touches right down in here. Paint back some of this heavy part of the violet from those, and just step out some of those colors there, and that just starts to add just a little bit more. And this is, you know, when I first started doing this a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I was heavy, and now I'm learning how to control it just a bit more. But it's a beautiful look to take those broken color edges out there like that, and change it up. Let's cool that off with a touch of our other cooler green, our phthalo green blue. Maybe put just a touch of the white into that and a little burnt sienna, so the green's a bit different over here, just a bit cooler, a little bit different there, and put some right in there. That's pretty good. I want to push back. I'm going to soften this yellow out. Push that one back just a bit. That's just the idea of one back in there. And let's push him back a little further. Soft greens. You can even lighten that up just a bit. Bit of burnt sienna. Push some of that back just a bit. Let some of that color go right off that edge there. That's the other thing. Don't try to, I mean, some of the color may fade off the edge. Just let it go ahead and go off the edge. That's what makes your you know, you want to be relaxed with your painting. And if you want to take something off the edge, take it off the edge. Here. There we go. That's kind of pretty. Let's, now I got to reset some of these cosmos because I painted into some of them, but that's what you want to do. Okay, that's what you want to do. Don't stop around them, all the time. Paint around. I mean, you want to paint in and out a bit, and you want to paint those edges in and out a bit. That's what makes them pretty. And let's add a little blue up there. And a little yellow center again. There. And I want to turn that. I've got these two turned the same way, and I really don't like that. So I'm going to reset that one. Not a hard thing to do. We're towards our greens and stuff there, so I'll just come up with some greens that are closer to that. Maybe I like that little bit of yellow in that too. Drag that through that area. Yeah. Take a look at your composition there. And let's take a bit of our burnt sienna and darker green here, our phthalo green blue, and just streak a little bit of that in there for contrast. Move that out just a bit. There, that's good. And let's grab some yellows right into that, yellow greens. Streak that through. That's pretty. There, that's pretty. And there, boy, some of that might look nice into that vase as well. It just carries the color down there. But now we'll come back with our cosmos color. A bit more violety color here. And let's just set him up where he is more this way. Right in there. Maybe a bit more color right back in there. A bit more of that color in there too. Yeah, that's just a bit more color there. Let's set a little burnt sienna into his center. There. And then we'll lighten up. Try to turn him just a bit by making the petals on the sides a little longer than they're on the front and the back here. Longer on the sides than on the front and back. There. Very casual painting of him. Paint that light. Paint the light into that one. I like that other little petal that's just not really supposed to be there, kicked out. Kind of liked it on that one. Let's just kick a little bit. I took out that center. Whoops. That's just a real casual little cosmos back there. It's kind of nice. Reset my burnt sienna. And touch of yellow there. That one's real casual. I might just take some of that casual here. Push one right in there. Maybe the idea of one back there. Let's put just a quick little bit of burnt sienna into that. This one will be almost ghosty light color. Touch of yellow. There. That's pretty good. I want to really make sure I express my light source, which means I have to really lighten up my cosmos here into the center here. I want to get this one nice and light. That expresses my light source better here. So my light's coming in and down and through here like this, so I really want to get that light expressed right in there onto this one here. And just nice, light, almost white strokes there. There, like that. That's pretty. That gets that light in there. Let's move that light out, like right here, so they see that light coming out there. Maybe slightly darker. Not there. Little touches of that. That light's moving out. I want to come back with my Hansa and some white. We'll hit that light source, real light white, right on the edges of our sunflowers right there. So we really hit that light. Really see that light. Right in there, right in there. And right in here. Right on the tips of that one there. You see that light. Let's get a nicer light warm green, pine green, maybe some Dahlia light yellow or some Hansa into that, and some white, nice light. Don't mix that yellow up too much in there. Some nice light warm yellow green here. A few little strokes of that, touches of that into here. That light moving away, we can darken that down slightly as we come down this way. Right in there, put a bit of that between the, let's get a touch of that light green right in there too. Right between my flowers there. And that. Go back, hit that cosmos one more time. Set it right on top of that light maybe. There. That's kind of pretty. Now, let's come back in. And so I see that light. I've got that. I'm looking at the entire expression of the painting. I'm liking it. I'm going to take a nice warm light yellow, some mainly yellow oxide in white, and let's set our front light here. That'll pull the yellow down, so we'll set some of that, just whisper some of that through that whole front area there. Pick up even some more white and strike that light, heavy texture light right there. Okay, and then we'll gray that down here. Some blue, yellow, burnt sienna. Get all your palette colors really kind of together, even a little bit of your cool color there. Into that really gets that all grayed down. All the palette colors together make just wonderful ground colors because it's all your colors together. So, you know, it works together really nice. So we'll toss some of those together, and then we'll move our light further out. Let's get a bit of yellow into that here. Just move some of that out. I'm going to reset this highlight again, just giving some more color, more stuff going on in my colors there. Let's get some more light right up in here. Let's just pull that down and reset that nice stroke of light again. And watch it, step back and watch that to see what the effect each one of your strokes have on your painting. You know, watch that. Watch those strokes. See what's happening to it. Let's cool that down just a bit. Take a nice cool stroke right across there. Break that up. Don't take it all out because that's just nice interest. But break some of that up. And you know, it's just, I'm looking at the effects of some of the stuff that I've done, and do I need to soften any of them or take any of them out? But I want to leave this really painterly in that my lights. Let's get a nice light yellow here. My lights and you know, stuff are nice textured strokes, and other things kind of, you know, out through here are not quite as textured. So I get a variation of my textures. That's kind of where I want here. So here we'll let some of this texture. Let's got a big blob of blue right there in my light, in my white. So I'm going to put a clean area right out here. As much as I would like to just reach up there and grab that, that might not be a good thing. Put that blue right up into the front there. And just watch your marks there. We're looking for that. So I got a good set there, so I'm going to wipe my brush. Let's pick up some heavy white, and let's just kind of follow that light source there out a bit. Get that nice heavy light strike. Pull that out, let it fade away a bit, coming out this way here. It's kind of nice. And just let some of that just sit out there like that. That's nice. Let's take this, let's drop it down so it's not quite as light. And that will be our through light right up here. Go right into those flowers. If we have to, we reset them again. You just set that back. Just let some of that just all diminish out here. I like all that that roughness of it, you know. It just works really well. We can put a touch of that color. It's nice and warm right over here. You could, you know, carry it. You can do as much as you want. You can really carry in lots of colors and do lots of things, you know. I think what I might like to do is I do like that vase, the painting of that vase, but I might put in a stroke or two of a lighter blue and then carry that blue through the painting a bit more. So let's just try that. Let's take a lighter blue here, a little bit of violet here, and because I like that blue that's right there, and We'll lighten this up a bit. About a value 6 or 7. And I always have my little value scale over here. So I watch that. Let's see what that looks like into the painting here. Maybe then soften it, exchange back to my softer violets here. That'll put a little more light into that container, just a touch more. Here we'll go right between the two, lighten that up just a bit more, right in there. Now let's get back towards that shadow. Just a touch more quinacridone over here, maybe a touch of red violet, slightly darker. It's right over here. A little more blue down into there. That's what I like, to carry those colors, slightly different strokes, little touches, and it just looks neat. Let's take a touch of that right up even into there. Might want to darken that back down, but that blue, then let's add a touch of that through the painting here into some of those cosmos and around. It just gives another tone, nice cool, nice onto the shadow side there, nice cool to the shadow sides of your flowers here. Right in there like that, carries that through. You can add, sometimes I would add little touches of that, like a cool or a shadow side on a you know, on your little bit into your sunflowers here. Makes it kind of pretty, little color that goes in, kind of harmonizes everything together. Sometimes I do it, sometimes you don't. Here. Go, some of that. And if I put too much of it on there, just take a little yellow or something and paint it back. That's where the beauty of your whole painting comes. Paint it in, paint it out, paint it back and forth. Working those colors and everything back and forth. You know, get yourself a real pretty. Now, let's get brave here and try something. I don't know if it'll work or not, but let's streak some of that yellow through our painting here as well. Now, what's the thought there is to carry some of the sunflowers back down into your painting a bit, which is that's got to be the thought process. Is all artists is carrying those colors down and around and through. So, and that does kind of work there. Let's push a bit of that right up here into this corner. Don't really have to do too much more to that. Maybe a touch of the light right over the edge of that. There. That carries that yellow back through there. Pretty nice. Let's do a bit of that, you know, in a few other little places. Some of those yellows. Back through, just carry. I look to see where it is I might need to maybe pop out a yellow. You know, that kicks that color out there. And you can take it down. You know, after you put that on, take it down into position a bit with some other colors, like that, right there. And it just paints that down, but it gets that yellow into that position. And so that's what you're looking at, is that color carrying through. So you're using really your backgrounds and everything to carry that color, you know, and you're in control of that. Let's leave a little bit of that yellow in our brush and reset just another little highlight right there, so it gets a touch of that yellow in there. which is that nice warm. And really leave a nice dollop of white and yellow right there. Maybe soften that with just a bit of our blue and this quinacridone. Tap that in your brush, wipe off some excess. Just tap a bit of that through. Just add some interest. Now that shine is a bit aggressive. In other words, there's a bit too much movement in it. So I'm going to set it back down with some of my violet color here. Just down, just a touch. Boy, I really like that lighter blue too, sitting alongside that there. I'm going to put a bit more of that. So it's a wonderful way to paint the vase, is to, start it with a mixture of the violets and then paint it separately and then paint it back in again. And it just gives you, let's put a lighter blue right down here. It's just that blue is just a nice, we call it the moonlight color. It's a cool color, but a lot of the vase is cool, so it works so well. See, you can paint these as long as you use your values and stuff pretty correct. You can paint these beautiful things with acrylics. I've touched into a little bit every once in a while of the extender, but not very much. A lot of this is pure acrylic. And I like it that way. Let's just put in just a touch of that there. It's a nice shine. Might take off the edge just a touch there. That's pretty nice. And then I'll look at the balance. Now, I think some of my phthalo green blue, we can cool that down. You can make it really dark with a little bit of red violet here into it. Now, if we add just little touches of that in through here, this is really your huge contrast that you can get into the center. Make sure you step back and check and see if that's as much as you want. I want just a little burnt sienna in there. Because see, I can really cool off my shadows there on that side of that sunflower there, and I'm going to redirect some of that sunflower here. Shorten this down just by dragging through this edge here on that and pulling back and letting those edges just get lost there, and that helps turn that sunflower there as well. And but that really, if you really want to get some contrast, you can come in with a few touches of this right around that center area there, and that will really get you contrast. That's up to you. That's your own artist choice. That's up to your client. That's up to your family. That's up to you as the artist. If it's your painting, how much you want to have there. But you need to know how to do it if you want to do it, and that's that real super cool. And it looks so dark. You really don't need black on this palette because those are really dark looking. And I'll just you can soften it out with just a drag of a brush of a lighter color over it, and gives you a completely different type of look. Now, I might want to I did some of that burnt sienna earlier as the first wash. I might take a touch of that burnt sienna into some of these colors right here, thin that out with a little water or so, and just come back over this corner right in here, just to back and forth a bit. I might soften that, might just leave it like that. That just really helps my whole light situation into my painting here. And that's a personal choice if you want to do that. You want to push that back a bit, leave a few streaks, a little bit of interest there. Pushes back that back sunflower back there, and then come back in and state any kind of little final highlights if you want, or take some of this soft color and let's work a few more little leaves and motion out through here. Takes your eye away from the flower bouquet, takes your eye further up. I like to add those towards the end of the painting, just up, little movements here, up and around. Push into that one so we turn that one just a bit more. Draw some of that in there, around, and see, yeah, that's looking pretty good. Change up your color a touch and maybe some of the cooler greens, and put a little extender in there just because it'll stay wet for a bit. If I want to use a color in a few areas, especially towards the end, I might put a bit of extender into it so it stays wet and allows me to work it for a while. There we go. We'll just push that around, pull that through. See, it just sets nice little stuff movements back here. Sometimes I do this with a small brush, and sometimes I just lighten up and just get some movements here, like that. It's a pretty little painting. Fun. 2.5 hours. That's not too bad here to get something like this done. Change that color there just a bit. Every little touches you can make, you can start adding and working through and add a little bit more, break up some of the big areas of color, add another little color work reference into it, and that's just going to add more and more to your painting. This is already pretty busy for me. It's pretty busy. Now, I know several clients that would just love it, so I won't get too perfect or precise with that here. I'll just let that sit out there and take some of this back. Work some of I like to work the edges several times. Work that flower back a bit there. See, I just paint into it, and then right out into your background, and then change your background up. Move some of these colors into your background, and that just looks great. It works. It works really well like that. You can drag back and forth. This is and some artists will do this, spend almost a day going back and forth with their colors like this. Even on an alla prima painting, they spend a lot of time doing that, and so because it just gives so much interest to the whole painting. So, but there you go. That's kind of a nice. I might make a color note down here. I hit some orange, but I might make a brighter little color note right down here. Brighter, some diarylite. Brighter little color note. It just pulls that yellow down. Do that a bit, break that up. That just pulls that yellow. Kind of like that. Might break that up. I kind of like that broken up. The yellow through there. Just grabs. Boy, that just really grabs you. That painting just really grabs you. You can add more, you can do more, you can, set up more. I could probably use just a touch cooler red, violet, burnt sienna, green. Some cooler shadow, little mark of shadow up over here. And maybe right there by the cast shadow of this. And I won't, we're painting more casual, so I won't get too precise with that. I'll just drag that through a bit. And then I think I'm going to call it, you know, because it's done pretty well. We'll probably put that contact shadow here, restate that underneath the edge of that vase. Make sure you get a slight ellipse there with it. Just a slight ellipse there. There, like that. Got a nice contact. One of the things I like, the little shine shows up. That's pretty good. Might put one final dollop of our light right in there. Boom. And then work it just a bit so it models into that. And that's a good light hit there. Pretty good. And make sure your flowers track that light. So this could have a bit of light right here. Just tracks that light. A bit lighter right there. So just a bit more white. Right there onto those. And that works pretty well, that light. Right there. That works pretty well, moving the light through the painting. That's what I look for. And you know, sometimes you don't have to have your light absolutely perfect. Depends on, you know, your goal, your plan. So look at the painting, but I like that light moving through there, and that's just kind of hitting and missing, and maybe one more little dose of light, and then I'm going to stop here of light green right in that front, so that light stays right up there in that front. Really get that nice light right there. Maybe a bit lighter, a bit more yellow. And you got yourself a very nice, light, pretty painting here. It's different. And so sometimes if I don't put it on in strokes, I'll take that and just drag a few areas here of the light there like that, so that it looks like the light is going there through that. So now you really, and you know, we're artists of light. You know, you should pay good attention to your light. How's your light working through your painting? And it's because it's very important. And that works there. So it's very different. Very different. Kind of fun. All right. So it takes a little bit more work, a little more expanded onto the palette, a little more color, a little more temperature, lighting control, casual strokes. We're going to look at all different kinds of stuff, all different kinds of flowers and stuff to develop some of these really, you know, gallery type looks. And you know, this I think this one is probably just a bit long in the back here. As I look at that, I was looking at that flower there. Let me just fix that real quick, then I'll let you guys go. But they're a little cooler color. Let's put a little violet into our greens and a little burnt sienna, so it's doesn't get too cold here. And let's just push back right there. Yeah, that's better. Push back right there. Break up the edge of that. Pull that back. There. Boy, that makes a difference. Sometimes you don't see that right away, but that does make a difference in helping pull that flower more towards that, turn it just a bit more. So that works. All right. Now I'm done. Time to sign it, and then I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.